Hey everyone, so today I'm recording the chapter 2.1 periodic math quiz. It's really easy. It's about absolute valued graphs and things like that. It's not really that hard. So before we start, I just need to mention that this whole quiz is lying down on it's not lying down. I mean it's just about this one equation: y equals a into x minus, or is it x plus x minus h, I think, x minus h plus k. So yeah, let's start. So they want the rule for this function. Let me just increase the size of the screen because we need to see the graph. Now whenever you want to find h and k, they're the first thing you find in your answer. H is always gonna be your vertex and k is always gonna be your vertex. So you find the coordinates of your vertex, which in this case is -2, 6. So your coordinates are -2 and 6, right? So now this is always gonna be h and this is always gonna be k. Always. It's never not this case. So now we're gonna put it in our equation that I told you. Y equals a x minus h, which is -2. Wait, -2 plus, I put it way too close to the edge. Y equals a x minus 2, x minus -2, sorry, my bad, plus k, which is, we found to be 6. Now, this is our equation, but let me simplify it because it's minus minus. I like putting it as plus. So y equals a x plus 2 plus 6. Okay? Now to find a, you get any easy point in your graph. Any easy point. For example, 4, 0. Usually anything with a 0 in it is an easy point. So you get 0.40 and you substitute it in your equation. So we're going to change this x to a 0 and this y to a 4. This x to a 4 and this y to a 0. And now we solve for it. So 4 plus 2 is 6. 6a plus 6 equals 0. 6a equals -6. A equals -1. So now we can go back to our original equation and substitute -1 with a, and this is our final equation. So y minus 1, x plus 2 plus 6, and that's it. Now let's move on to the next one. The graph, okay. So the graph of y equals x plus 3 minus 6 is obtained by shifting the graph y x plus 3. So look, whenever you're moving or you're changing this value or this value, it's shifting. No matter, it doesn't matter which direction. When you're changing the a value, I'll show you about that later when we get to a question about it, if there is any. So now you know your original graph is this. But what changed here? This was added. This is the only thing. So you shifted it. This number, 6 units, if it's negative, it means down. If it's positive, it means upwards. So since it's -6, you want 6 units, 6 units downwards. That's it. Next question. Now, okay. So look, here, it's almost the same. Except now here, whatever is inside the absolute value changed. Whenever it's the plus or minus outside the absolute value, by the way, this is your k. If it was your a, it would be multiplied by this, not added to it. But whenever anything inside the absolute value is being changed, this is different. So again, it's still shifting, but if it's -5, or let's say negative means to the right, or negative means to the right, positive means to the left. Okay? So here you moved -5. Well, -5 from the original equation. So you moved 5 units, since it's negative, to the right. That's it. It's really simple. Just memorize, when it's k, positive is up, negative is down. When it's h that you're playing with, negative is to the right, positive is to the left. That's it. Moving on. Okay, here you have your graphs, and you need to figure out which graph is correct. Now, what I'd personally do for these types of questions is substitute the point in your equation. That's personally, like, I find it the most safest way to do it. Okay? So, I'd take any easy points, like anything touching the y-axis. So here, for example, this is at 0, 5. So let's substitute these points. 0 minus 5 in absolute values equal... Why? Wait. What's the question asking? I forgot to read the question. Yeah, which one are the... Okay. So look. Forget the point for now, because the point could be confusing. I just realized what they wanted. So look, here's what you're gonna see. -5. What did I tell you about negative? Negative means from this point, from this graph, it should be moving 5 units to the left. Or wait, sorry, to the right, since it's negative. Here it moved 5 units to the left. So immediately this graph is wrong. Okay? Now let's go to the next one. Here, you needed to shrink it by units of 5. So look, when you're changing the a, then you take points. So this, let's say, was your... Actually, let me draw it accurately. I have a pen, I could. This was your original equation. What happened was you shifted it, or sorry, you shrunk it. Yeah, don't ask, you stretched it, sorry. When it becomes smaller, it's stretched, and when it becomes bigger, it's shrunk. It's the opposite of English. So don't be confused when I say shrunk and stretched, opposite ways. So let's see. When you take a point, let's say, take one that's like, yeah, here. 1 and 5. When you have 1 in absolute values multiplied by 5, is it equal to 5? Yes, it is. So your graph is right. Now, when you have it, here, let's say now our next one. When you have it, now this time it isn't multiplied by 5, it's divided by 5. Here is your original equation. Your original equation is always passing through the points 1, 1, 2, 2. So this is your original. Immediately. If it is divided by 5, it's gonna get bigger. It's gonna get bigger and wider than the original. If it's multiplied by 5, it should be getting smaller than the original. Like, see here, it shrunk from the original, so this is more accurate, or it's right. But when you have it divide, when you're dividing, you know, it should be like this. This should be x divided by 5, or something like the blue that I just drew. It should be getting wider, not getting smaller. So that's why this one is wrong. Moving on. X plus 5. Like I said, here you don't take points. You only take points when it's like this. But if like it's obvious like this, you could just take it as in comparison to the original. Okay? So here you're doing x. Your x, there's no h here, but you're adding 5. The 5 is the k, so you're adding it in altitude. It's going 5 up. Since it's going 5 up, we need to see which one has its vertex at 5. That's it. This one has its vertex at 5. Here it has its vertex at negative 5. So that's wrong. We need it at positive 5 if you're adding 5. But now here, like I said before, when your change is inside the absolute value, it's either you're going right or left. One of the two. If it's plus 5, you're moving left. Is this moving left to the 5? Yes, it moved. It's supposed to be here, like this. You moved it 5 to the left. Here we said it's wrong because here they moved it to the left even though it should be moving to the right. That's why this is wrong and this is right. Now, moving on. Now here they're telling us the graph of g of x of y equals g of x equals 5x minus 2 minus 6. How is it comparison to this? So what happened here is you moved it 2 units and 6 units. Negative 2, negative h means to the right. Actually, I'm just going to draw arrows pointing right and left. Negative, or positive, sorry, my bad. H equals going left. Positive, negative k means down. Positive k means up. Okay? So these we have to memorize them, okay? So here you moved negative 2. So your h, which is in your absolute values, the negative 2, which means it moved by a factor. Wait, they didn't scare. Oh yeah, illa. They also changed the 5. I didn't see the 5. So like I told you, when you're multiplying, it's shrinking. Don't ask how. Shrinking. Doesn't get bigger, it gets smaller. When you're dividing, it stretches. Wait, no, it's opposite, is it? When you're multiplying, it's stretched. Weight can be obtained by stretching the graph by a factor of 5. So yeah, I completely mixed them up. Sorry, it doesn't have to do even with multiplying or dividing. It's when you have a positive number over a positive or a negative a. When you have or bigger than 1 or less than 1. So when you have a number like 5, it's stretching. Forget the rule for a because a is the most confusing one in my opinion. When you're multiplying by 5, it's stretching. I'll show you another example where it's shrinking. I don't want to mess you up. Either way, they told you it's stretching. You don't even have to select it. But by a unit or a factor of 5. Because you multiplied it by 5. And then we said 2 is negative. So negative h, you're moving to the right. And then you're shifting it 6 units downward because it's negative 6. That's it. For the a hala, I'm going to show you an example. Maybe it's going to show up in a question. Okay. Here, you need to find the equation again. So first I would do is always find your vertex. Your vertex is at negative 2, 5. Is it 5 or is it? No, it's, wait, 4. It's 6 actually. By the way, yeah. This question is the exact copy as the same first question. Sorry, right? I said I'm not gonna solve this because it's the exact same thing as the first question I solved. Exact same. Like, I'm even gonna show you. See? Negative 1, 2, and 6. I explained it already. So I'm just gonna go on. Now, here, this question is really fun to do. So, always, you need to graph, but on the computer. How do you do that? Take points. When your x is 0, your y is 0. So that's gonna be your first point. Now let's see. When your x is 1, your y is negative 2. So when it's 1, you go negative 2. When it's -1, you're also gonna go -2. So -1, -2. When it's 2, you go, it becomes -4. When it's -2, it's also -4. So -2, -4. And that's your graph. Now, some people are gonna ask me, why didn't we do it for the 3 and the 4? We could, you definitely could, but they didn't give you a graph big enough to do it. So if they continued this graph down, you'd have to select more points. And either way, they told you select 5 points. So don't do more, of course. And by the way, yeah. It's going downwards. See, this is going downwards because it's negative. Here now you have to choose 7 points. It's the same thing. You take points. So when x is 0, y is 1. When x is 1, y is 2. When x is -1, y is 2. When x is 2 or -2, y is 3. When x is 3 or -3, y is 4. You could continue it, but they didn't continue their graph, so you can't continue either. And that's all 7. And you put them upward because the A is upward. Okay, these questions are nice. I like them. Yeah. So here's what you do. They tell you your abscissa is -2. First, you do -2 minus 2. So you're gonna get -4. So now you do g of -4, which means you go to -4, you go up, you find your value, and that's your answer, 4 and 4. That's it. For the next question, why? Okay, look. Because some people are gonna get confused. When what you're changing is inside the brackets, you do it first. When it's outside the brackets, like this question, you do g of x first, then you continue. So first, you're gonna take -2 and go up. Then you're gonna find your g of x. So you're gonna find it to be 2. Then you multiply it by 6, then to get 12. Okay, be careful. For this question, it's your last question. The vertex. Okay, to find the vertex, you're gonna find whatever value makes this 0. So you're gonna do 3x minus 6 equals 0. And then 3x equals 6. X equals 2. That's your x. And to find your y, you take whatever value is here. This is your y. That's it. If it's positive, you put positive y. If it's -8, you put -8. And that's it. That's it for this quiz. Hope you understood everything. It's way easier than the first quiz we did. And have a nice day. Bye.